Hello everybody, hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to be reviewing the new album by Helloween called Helloween. Helloween are a German-based power metal group who have been going on since the mid-1980s. Power metal, a subgenre of metal that contains a lot of soar and fantastic lead melodies, loads of literally powerful melodic riffs, and some always very quick and sort of speedy drumming to go along with it to give it this very euphoric sort of feel. And power metal is a genre that I'm still much of a novice on. I've basically only explored the classics, so to say, being such groups as Blind Guardian and Helloween. Oh, I pointed to Gamma Ray. That's not Helloween, although that does contain a few members of Helloween, I believe. I'll point that way. So Helloween are a group that I've only really tried what are known as the classics. That mainly being Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 1 and 2, which were released in the sort of late 80s, I think 87 and 88. But so it's been a big gap from me going from this to Helloween self-titled, which has just been released. But really, you'd think that I should be catching up with a load of albums in between, but it's actually quite suitable. So why do I say it's quite suitable for me to talk about this album? Well, because there is a lot of anticipation for this record, and it works really as a sort of follow-up to Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2, because not only have we got the legendary Michael Kiske, who was the lead vocalist at that time of Keeper of the Seven Keys, but he actually left the group after that album and has returned finally here. I know he's been touring with the band for a few years now, but this is the first album he's done in the studio with these guys. So can you believe that? That's over 30 years. Wow. And as well as that, we've also got a returning band member too, a gentleman called Kai Hansen, who hasn't been with this group since, I think, 1993 with an album called Chameleon. So this is really a true to form return. I think apart from the drummer, we've got every single original band member back for this album. So that's pretty exciting. So whilst I can easily say I'm certainly not a die-hard Helloween fan, I haven't been following the band for all of the releases and such like that, I can at least have the opinion of, is this a good album or not? And not really so much as, was it worth the wait? But saying that, I love this thing. I think it's fantastic. And although I've only got a couple of albums to really go by in regards to hold it up to the qualities of past material, I'd say it holds up and then some. So we'll kick things off with Out for the Glory, and this is truly an invigorating and enchanting track, and a very exciting one at that, because not only is the song itself exciting, but it must be exciting for all of the fans finally hearing these guys together for the first time. What makes it even better is that despite it being such a long time that they've been together in the studio playing a song, it sounds no different. I kind of hold it the same candle as I would with modern day Judas Priest, where Rob Halford's vocals are just, they haven't changed whatsoever. And speaking of Rob Halford, the vocals on here reach his sort of high intensity screeching levels, but it goes from that to being very varied. For example, having these sort of baritone vocal group melodies, and it's just so varied and just glides along like a real roller coaster of a ride. Again, talking about age, I think the song has just a very electrifying, youthful energy to it, and this is really shown through the drumming, which is this sort of galloping, bouncy sort of tempo to it, which really helps the track with the style too. The exhilarating guitar solos, which is just impeccable throughout this track, are also great, especially when they hit that sweet spot too, when they eventually start playing the main vocal melody to this song too. It's just brilliant. And when they start singing at the end, Time Has Come, this to me isn't really at all sinister that you might expect if you were just reading that in a typical metal record. I think this is just again a sort of return to form, like a welcoming call to all of the fans who are, have been anticipating this record for so long. Like, time has come, we're finally here, we're finally together and making this album. We then move on to another great track, Fear of the Fallen, which starts from a sort of mellow prog rock tune to turn into yet another headbanger. And to me, I think fans of Muse, especially the sort of Absolution era Muse, would be a big fan of this, because I feel that this song has that sort of elegant flamboyancy that you kind of get from that album era too. Whilst the many alternative passages to this track are very impressive in how seamless they are and also keep the track from becoming stale, I think it's especially impressive how it has these tempo changes which literally last for a couple of seconds, going from very slow on these sort of questions that the vocals bring to the audience, like, is this the road that you want to take, and then hitting it with decide. And when they say decide, it really picks up the pace, and because it only lasts a couple of seconds, it really makes it very, very catchy, at least to me. And again, because it's done so seamlessly and naturally, it's just especially more impressive. We'll then move on to Best Time, which is a very uplifting song and should really be played to many people out there who are feeling a bit down, especially with all these gloomy, uncertain times that we're facing at the moment. And I suggest this because not only are the lyrics very uplifting, with these sort of lyrics dealing about today might be a struggle, but tomorrow, as in the future, could always bring something new and better, but the music itself, I think, should put a grin on many people's faces. It certainly put a big grin on my face first hearing it, because when I was first playing this album, I was at the gym, and whilst working out and this song came on, I honestly envisioned all of these cameras facing me, because I didn't think I was just at the gym. I thought I was actually getting filmed, because we were doing a training montage to film the newest reboot of a Rocky film. This song is the perfect song for that sort of thing. And basically I'm trying to say this song is quite corny, but I think there's good corny and there's bad corny. Some people might think it's bad, but I enjoy this song for its sort of style. We next get the song Mass Pollution, and no, people, this is not all about global wastage and the incorrect disposal of non-degradable objects, which is ruining the planet's ecosystem, wildlife, inhabitants, and ozone layer. No, it's a song which is all about noise pollution. Yes, noise pollution. What they deem is a description of all of the headbangers out there listening to metal music. This is a celebration for all those headbangers out there, and this is shown for all of the crowd chanting which you hear in the song, the go, 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 and make some noise that you hear as well in the lyrics too. So with a topic like this, I don't think the song is going to be totally taken seriously. And the band don't even feel that itself, at least Deris doesn't himself, because if you actually look in the iTunes notes, he does a sort of song-by-song analysis on the record, and on this song he states himself that this should just be taken as entertainment and shouldn't be taken seriously. So of course I don't have anything against the topic of this song, I think it's great actually that the topic's been risen for, just all about fans to celebrate their enjoyment of this sort of music, but wow, this song is corny, and unlike the previous track, not really in a good way. Never mind the corny chorus, but the line that's delivered where they're like, a mass pollution, a contribution to song evolution, is even cornier, especially since it's done through like a megaphone effect, and I've always hated it when metal and rock groups do that effect. I just always found it really cringe. Obviously the band know what they're going for here, because if this was played live, the audience would go mental, and especially because the song is pretty repetitive, especially in the drumming, very, very simplistic on this track, and a chorus which you would only need to hear. In fact, no, you would know it on your first time and you would be able to sing along on the first listen. So this would be a really good crowd pleaser for hearing them live, but just listening down in a quiet room, yeah, doesn't really work for me, this song. One of my least favourites. Track Angels, the next one, definitely raises this thing up a peg because of the much more layered instrumentation, especially through the organ that's used on here, which gives it a very cinematic quality. Because of the lyrics stating sort of angels giving you nightmares, the sort of contrast sort of thing going on makes me feel this is sort of like a love story where a love's went awry, kind of like a careful what you wish for. Things might not always be what they seem, you know, just at first glance. So this song, especially with the organ, actually makes me feel like I'm at a wedding getting married to the love of my life, and she's absolutely gorgeous, but she suddenly, while I'm getting married, gets like pointy fangs, a pointy tail, and suddenly gets a pitchfork and starts shoving it in front of me face. Rise Without Change is another sort of anthemic number we've got going on here. Now, although the album notes state that this was thought of through a dream, so it might be actually taken literally of a person flying, to me I kind of read it as another sort of pick-me-up number of a song, because it's kind of like a don't let chains, so sort of don't let the obligations of life bog you down, always try and rise to your full potential. That, at least that's how it reads to me. And literally rising and flying, that's how I would describe the vocal Derris's does on here, because they literally float across this track, they really soar. So this is another very enjoyable song here. Then the next track, Indestructible, is yet another sort of anthemic number, and this is pretty much what you'd want for an anthemic power metal song, especially for the sort of band of brothers vocal harmonies that are through this track, which are really gorgeous, as well as the guitars on here, very spellbinding and gorgeous too. And I really like the lyrics on here where it said, you know, we can rock on loud and free, which kind of falls to that sort of mass pollution, that sort of topic, but I feel it's done way better here. And then we move on to Robot King, and this is, for me, my favourite track on the album. Yes, a Robot King, a dystopian future where robots take over the world forever and ever. I wouldn't actually mind that if the Robot King played bangers like this one. It's a simple idea to use a crescendo in your song, but when it's the likes of Helloween doing it, and they do it so impeccably through the vocals, the vocal harmonies, and having such fantastic choruses and bridges that are used through this song, it really makes this a literal epic. It's done so well, and this track for me is just really empowering and cathartic to listen to, which is exactly what everyone strives to listen to when they're hearing a power metal record. So Robot King starts this sort of trend of songs on this last leg of the album where all the songs are actually pretty damn bleak, and I suggest that this song Cyanide is one of the bleakest, and that's because the song's topic, unlike Robot King, yeah, this is actually true to life. It's all about how the value of money becomes more valuable than the value of a person's actual life. And this is especially true for countries out there that don't have free healthcare. Like, I suppose that's where I can consider myself lucky being in England. And it's just terrible that we do live in a sort of world where people are actually making themselves physically unwell because they'd rather do that than see themselves impoverished by actually seeking medical assistance. So although this topic I'm sure isn't the most unique, I feel Helloween actually do find a way of doing it in a very unique way, because I guess this sort of genre doesn't really cover it too much. And the way these guys sing it, which is, although always simplistic, that's always so true to the point. And I think that's what makes the song actually succeed very well. The next track, Down in the Dumps, is an even bleaker song, which comes from a sort of first-person viewpoint of someone who is just clearly suffering from either depression or severe anxiety, where we follow the person through the very, very mundane daily activities and see them struggle to get out of bed, struggle to even just leave the home. So although the song isn't written to the point where it actually lyrically details why a person is in this state, whether through some sort of trauma or some, recent loss of anything or another, I think that lack of depth actually is into this song's benefit, because it makes it more wider appealing to people who are going through similar situations, and again is kind of up for interpretation too, which I think works to this song's benefit as well. The epic intro on this song and the especially pain vocals delivered here makes this a very sort of invigorating listen, and as well as that, the song becomes even more bleak when you realise that it doesn't actually have a happy ending or anything, it just kind of ends. And the way Helloween have organised this album, where they've put all the bleak songs at the end, is very interesting, because following the album, if you had the bleak songs at the start but then had the more triumphant songs at the end, at least it gives it a more conclusive and happier ending. But for this song to kind of just fade out, and just for this person to be stuck in a continuous cycle seemingly of this never-ending depression. It's very dark. So after being treated to a little interlude called Orbit, we'll then move on to the epic finale, the final track on this album, the grandiose spectacle that is Skyfall. And no, people, this is not actually a late entry to a possible song to be used in the James Bond film Skyfall, although that would be actually pretty epic. No, it's a bit different. No, this song's actually detailing an alien who crash lands onto presumably planet Earth and is threat to all of the evil and torturous things that humanity has to bring it to it. Yep, a happy little number to finish this album. But no, jokes aside, this is actually a proper sprawling epic, and although the song is very lyrically explicit about stating that this is a literal alien crash landing on Earth, I can't still help but feel that this is a metaphor for the returning topics to what was sort of discussed and dabbled into in previous tracks on this album, the sort of feeling of isolation and alienation. The song is basically what you want for a prog metal sort of number, with anthemic choruses and fantastic doodling guitar passages and solos. It's everything you want. And I feel even though it says that the alien's planet is destroyed, I feel that the song still ends on a positive note and leaves the album on a positive note too, because the alien says that he's going to find a new home and kind of suggests that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Again, suggesting if you're having troubles in this present time, there's always a possibility that things will get better soon. And with that, we end the album. Helloween self-titled, and wow, what a fantastic journey, and is so entertaining, and was just a right treat for me to listen to a band who, after basically kind of half splitting up for so many years, come back and make such a great project. And I highly recommend it to not just Helloween fans, but any sort of metal fan whatsoever. And I thought this was overall a great listen. A few, not even duds really, just songs that I personally didn't enjoy as much as others, but so many highlights on here. And is basically, again, just what you want if you enjoy power metal or any sort of music really that has this, again, kind of anthemic feel to it. And overall, I highly recommend it, guys. I'm giving this a very strong 8 out of 10. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you guys enjoy this record, and I hope this lineup of Helloween continue to release more fantastic records. Thanks again, everybody. Hope you're taking care of yourselves. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening.